Hello, YouTube and YouTube land and everybody else watching on other platforms, wherever this has got shared to. This is the story of Jake Larson. Mr. Larson is a D-Day survivor. He joined the National Guard when he was 15, so he lied about his age to serve his country. He is, I'm pretty sure, the last surviving man of the people that he was with there. So, enjoy Mr. Larson's story. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and share it. And I'll see you guys on the next video. Support our troops, guys.
Minnesota, and I was raised on a farm 2 miles west of Hope, Minnesota.
And was there a history of military service in your family?
No, but I started one.
So you joined the National Guard in 1938. What kind of duties did you have in the National Guard?
We were preparing to be cannon fodder. We learned to march, we learned to shoot, and being a farm boy, we were brought up with guns. So it was a natural thing to be shooting.
Where did they send you and train you at that point?
I was in Camp Claiborne, Louisiana at that time. I'd been there since February 10th. And we were shipped to Fort Dix, New Jersey for embarkation over to England someplace. We didn't know where, but we ended up in North Ireland. And that was the big training ground for the 34th Infantry Division. And I was a former company clerk in headquarters company, and I got busted down to private. So when I went to North Ireland, I was Private Jake Larson. But your records go with you. And my record, when Captain Erickson broke me down to a private, he said, "You're going to be in the wire section. You'll be climbing poles and stringing wire for it." Now, I was an expert typist, and it changed my life, where I was planning on climbing poles and stringing wire. Instead, I was transferred into G3, 5th Corps. I had no knowledge at all what even a corps was.
So now that you're attached to the 5th Corps, how soon after that were you part of the D-Day invasion?
Colonel Hill, out of G3, there were 30 of us in G3. He picked me to go with him, and I got in on the plans of D-Day. Well, I was elevated to top secret bigot, the highest kind of a secrecy you can possibly get. Every person that landed on D-Day, every person that landed on D-Day on Omaha Beach came through my fingers. I look back at it now, it's an honor.
All right, so take me to June of 1944 and the beginning of the mission across the English Channel. What was the ride like?
Well, a ride across the English Channel. I was on the command ship. That was one of the roughest rides in the world. we started across, and we had a terrific storm come in, and they called off. We were supposed to land on the 5th. We boarded on the 4th of June, and we were supposed to land on the 5th. There was no one slept. It was an adrenaline stretch. So we went back into ports, wherever we were at the time, and kept out of the storm. And then it was June 5th. We went across the English Channel, and it was still rough. 3-4 foot waves, and the morning of the invasion started early. When you go down those rope, they aren't even ladders, they're just strung over just rope. And you're climbing down with 75 pounds of material hanging to your back, and you're carrying your rifle over your shoulder. It's and the waves, the tide, whatever, came up 3-4 feet. So you had to watch how you got into the boat, because the boat would come up to meet you, and or pull away from you, and that was one of the most difficult times. But I made it. I was the first one in the back of the boat, so I sat by the Navy pilot and watched everybody come into the boat, take their places. There was 30 of us on there. And I came over with members of the 1st Infantry Division, the 16th Infantry Regiment.
How would you describe the sounds or the smells?
The sounds were, it was like somebody was shooting firecrackers. And a whole bunch were shooting, all big booms, small booms. It's crazy. It's crazy. And the craziest thing is, I'm sitting here talking to you about my experience. I am the only one left out of all those guys I was with. They've all gone on. And this can't last forever. In less than 2 months, I'm going to be 101. I don't have an ache or a pain in my body. I'm blessed. I truly am blessed.
Jake, you were saying a little while ago how you were able to advance when the machine guns stopped for a little while. Once they started up again, how did you keep pressing ahead? You put a move on, and they have to try to catch up with you. You don't let them catch up. I could move pretty fast at that time. Quite a difference from right now. So you just kept running up the bluff?
Well, it's like we're coming off of the beach. You don't run up the bluff. That's when you're off the beach. And then that's when the Germans are shooting you from the back too. And when we got to this ravine that we were going to use to get up off the beach, that ravine was filled with barbed wire by the Germans. We had to get pipes that were filled with blasting material, and my golly, I forgot the name of those, but they plug into each other, so we run some of those blasting pipes up there, and while they were running those up there, 3 of those guys were killed there by the Germans. And then when they blew that barbed wire out of there, it opened up for the rest of us, and we got up. The Germans just cleared out. Once we got through and got up behind them, they just left.
What did you do after they left?
After they left, I found Lieutenant Colonel Pratt, and we started to set up the command post.
What were you thinking at the end of the day?
What was I thinking? This is I don't remember. I remember setting up the command post. I don't remember doing it. I just remember it's done. And I was, at the end of the day, it was about 7:15. I realized I was digging a foxhole along with Corporal Madison Rich. And he was digging his foxhole. We were going to sleep. I found a litter that hadn't been used. So I dug my foxhole a little bit longer. So I put that litter in the bottom. And then if I put my sleeping stuff on that top, that litter was protected from the moisture. It was canvas. At 7:15, somebody hollered from the command post, "Sergeant Larson, Colonel Hill wants to see you right now." So I goes in. Colonel Hill is a full bird colonel. He and I worked on the invasion together, so he got me in. He says, "Sergeant," he says, First Army wants me to keep G3 open 24 hours a day." He says, "You're going to run the night shift." I said, "Starting when, sir?" He says, "Starting right now." It was 7:15. So I went back and told Corporal Rich, I says, "Matty," I says, "you can sleep in my foxhole now. I got that litter in there." He says, "Jake, I got my fart sack all ready here. I'm beat. I'm going to bed." So he laid his M1 Garand rifle on my litter. He went to sleep. I went to work at midnight. The Germans sent over a plane to find out what we were doing. So they lit up the whole thing with flares and took pictures out loud. That aggravates our gunners from that shoot the big guns at the planes. So they started shooting up at the plane that was flying around there and taking pictures. And then that died off, and I'm supposed to be operating G3 at night. I don't remember anything else except that plane flying over and all the guns going off and shooting. And the next thing I knew, I was being relieved. It was 7:30 in the morning. So I walked over to Madison Rich. He picked up his rifle off of my litter, and it broke in two. A piece of shrapnel that they had shot up at that German airship came down and hit that shrapnel laying on my litter. God, there is a God. How is it possible? Those grand rifles were 8 pounds. They were a solid machine. That had to be hit just perfect in order to break apart. See, I got through the invasion without a scratch. And this, how come I wasn't on that litter? How come I was picked to go and operate G3 that night? I don't remember doing anything else. But I was there, and it saved my life. It's crazy. It's plain crazy.
Well, Jake, many years later, of course, you become famous because of your granddaughter hearing your stories, filming your stories, and putting them out there on social media for other people to find. So what does it mean to you that so many people now know not only what you did, but all these other people that you can tell their stories?
It caused me to write a book. And the name of that book is The Luckiest Man in the World. Who in the world would ever write a book like that? The luckiest man in the world? Look, I'm telling you, after I joined the Army, National Guard, at 15, for the money, that was $12 every 3 months I'd get. But it was like money from heaven. Then I got the experience. We were like soldiers. We were ready for war. When it came, it was these youngsters that grew up carrying rifles, being able to shoot them, and not being afraid to give their life. There were so many that gave their life. And it's my duty to honor those guys. I'm here today to tell these stories. And what an honor to serve with these people. Every one of those guys, they're the heroes. I'm not a hero. I'm just relating what I did. And we're trained to do this. Every one of us, we're trained to do this. So those guys that have passed on, they're the real heroes. They're the ones I talk about. They made it possible for me to get through by giving their life.